Good afternoon. It is 1:30. We are going to be starting the Service Request Fulfillment Project kickoff. I'm Julie Jensen. I'm the Branch Chief of Customer Delivery Division from the California Department of Technology. And I want to introduce to you Rob Schmidt, our Chief of the Office of Technology Services, who will be introducing the event today.
Good afternoon. I'm glad you could make it. The rain outside is probably, we'll see some folks drag in because of the difficulty with the rain conditions, but I appreciate that you're here. Again, I'm Rob Schmidt, the Chief of OTEC, recently appointed back in October. And what's been interesting for me in my last 90 days or so is meeting folks like you, going out to departments and understanding what the problems are out there. And this is one of the issues that comes up is being able to submit service requests to our department and being able to communicate with our department. So this is an important project to me. So I'd like to start off with a little story. I was previously the CIO and AIO for food and agriculture for the last 5 years. And occasionally I had to use the existing system, the CSS system. So let me ask you this question. Is there anyone here who likes the existing CSS system? Oh, there was one hand. For me, it was difficult to use. In fact, every time I had to use the system, I had to call these folks at the support for CSS to reset my password because there was no online reset. And every time I had to submit it, I had to figure out the template and where do I put things and what do I write in there and where do I add documents and how do I put in attachments and oh, and then how do I forward that to the next person? And well, then who is the next person? It was complicated. So I'm really excited to be here today as we launch this new service request system within Remedy. And I'm pleased to introduce Michael Fogarty, who's next going to talk about the benefits of the system and what changes are upon us. Before I do that, though, is what I need from all of you is to be our change agents. Anytime you have a new system, there's some bumps in the road, and I presume we're going to have a few ourselves, just based on history. And so as you encounter things, let us know. If you see better ways of doing things, let us know. We're here listening. Thank you.
This project's been going on for a little bit. This is actually phase 2 of the effort. We have one customer and OTEC currently operating in the system. So part of that was a learning experience from a development and operation standpoint, customer experience, what it felt like for the data center to actually fulfill these service requests, and we learned quite a bit. So we established project goals here really is to create a standardized system. So, you know, as Rob was saying, when you're asking for a service, it's the same way every time. So there's that familiarity, and it sort of eases that customer adoption. We're moving to a single system. So right now we operate 2 systems. We have the CSS system, and we have, you know, the Remedy system, which handles part of it. So there was always the question of whether, well, is this a service request that I'm asking for that has money associated with it when you go into one system, and if it's one that's just adding a service and there's no money associated with it, you go into the other system. So we're going to have one system we go to all the time. You know, with that, we're defining the services such that you don't have just the blank box to enter the big narrative into. We're asking predefined questions. We have established predefined routing. So your request will go to the right service group at the right time. And what that's going to do is that's going to shorten that timeline from request to fulfillment. The ultimate goal is to migrate customers off of the CSS system onto the Remedy system, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So benefits to you, benefits to the data center. User-friendly. This is a web-based application. It'll give you the ability from your iPad, from any of your tablets, from any web-enabled device to be able to get to and look at service requests. The ability to track the status of your service request, which in the existing system may be somewhat problematic, other than you pick up the phone call and you ask somebody to say, hey, where is this? You will now have the ability to see, not just for requests that you send, but requests for your entire department if you choose. I talked a little bit about automated routing. You will have the ability to select a specific service request. I'll pick on firewall, and it will go to the service group, directly to the service group that is supposed to fulfill that request. And then we talked a little bit about reports. So workflow improvements, the busy screen, but as we look at the far left-hand side of the screen there, we see non-specific service requests other. That's effectively how CSS functions today, right? It's just a blank piece of paper. You write 2-3 paragraphs. This is what I want. And you're going to tell me all the things that you think, but obviously when it gets to the person who's going to fulfill it, they're going to have a gazillion questions for you on, well, did you want, flashing lights or whatever. As we move to the next box to the right, this is the first stage that our project is engaged in right now. We have templates existing for services that are provided by the data center. We're going to continue to use those intake templates. It's paper, or electronic documents that you have the ability to fill out, and they will be attached to a very specific service request. And I think at this point we have 33 specific service request types. So you'll attach the form to the electronic request, answer some additional online questions, and because it's a specific request, it will route to that service group. So that's really the benefit of what we're calling service maturity level 1. We also have a smaller set, half a dozen or so, that are going to have online forms. They will not have attachments required or necessary for those. All the questions will be asked electronically online. Gives us the ability to do data validation. A lot of problems that we see with attached forms are customers, don't know the information, don't fill out all the information. So the difference between the two is as we move higher up that maturity curve, there's going to be less back and forth between the fulfilling agent and the requester. The whole goal of this is as we move to the right of this screen, we shorten that time frame that it takes to fulfill. The idea is that we want our technologists on the back end to have all the information they need to immediately start to fulfill your request. So working together, we'll find ways to ask the right questions and not overburden you with 1,000 questions. If we can ask you 5 questions and be able to derive all the rest of the information, that's the ultimate goal. We want to make this system easy for you to use.
So this is where we are with SURF. So in addition to improving our workflow processes, SURF was actually initiated by you, the customer. We did an annual survey for 3 years in a row, and the lowest rated service every 3 years was CSS. We've lived and breathed it for a number of years. It was a homegrown application that was somebody's great idea that's been modified and tweaked. But now it's at the point where it's not providing you, the customer, with the level of service that you expect. We're now, with Amazon, we go online and we say, ooh, Amazon, it's so easy. How come you're not like that? Well, we're trying to mature to Amazon. So basically what we're trying to say to you is you spoke and we listened, and that is the result of your comments. So as Mike was talking about, one of the things that we did to improve the service was we defined our service categories. We came up with 7 specific service categories that you have requested, that the customer requests come in. They are infrastructure, network, software, email and mobile, professional, other, and then service desk. And so what we said was we took CSS, where if you had a CSS request, you could type in whatever you wanted. You could say network was NW or NTWK, or it could be whatever you wanted it to be. And that was really hard because then you couldn't track metrics, you couldn't search on that word. So we said, let's put categories that our customers can utilize. And we created these categories that will be the front level for your service request. And then as Mike stated previously, each of these requests that you see, there are 33 requests that we have. Each of these have an intake form. So you will go infrastructure, and then when you pick infrastructure, these are the services that we have available. We have 14 new categories in infrastructure. So we have admin, RDP access for Windows servers, AIX server build and maintenance, CalCloud portal user list maintenance, enterprise Linux application hosting, geographic information system, Linux server build or decommission, RACF password, security exception request, shared website hosting, Solaris server decommission, tenant managed services, basic or premium, WebSphere application server, and Windows hosting. So yet again, these requests, you'll pick network, then there will be a form you either complete and attach, or it will be an online intake form that you will do to submit the infrastructure request. So for this phase of the project, network has 2 requests. We have CGen circuits and firewall. For our software services, we have extended software support. We have Tame, which is the IBM Tivoli Access Manager for e-business tool. We have Listserv, local admin privileged workstation account, mid-range database support, Oracle database support, secure certificates, server-based computing, SQL and MySQL, SQL SA rights, and access to Windows Server. So the next service category we have is email and mobile services. So right now the 2 service request definitions that we have available are California Email Services and Mobile Device Management. The category of professional services is actually a little bit different than the other SRDs that we have developed. This is a request for various types of consulting, and so there, at the beginning of the request, you have to actually select the type of consulting that you want. It encompasses training, security assessment, or project management services at this time. So we also have a service desk services category that is being initiated into this phase. So one is a customer ID code request, and those are for customers that need a new billing code, or if they're a new customer. External remedy ID and approvers. So the process to create a remedy ID and to make somebody an approver is now an SRD. And then actually reporting an incident will be a new SRD that we will be implementing. So you're probably looking at this list and you're going, I'm missing something, I don't see it. Well, that's where other comes in. So we have 33 SRDs at this time because they have an intake form or they have an online form that we can use. But the other services that we have do not have those intake forms or the attached forms. So we have classified those into other. And this is kind of like CSS and Remedy, where it's pretty much a free form field that you'll have to fill when you want to submit those service requests. One of the other components about other, which is different than the others, is other goes through impact, which is where our SRM team actually looks at the service request, reviews it, and sends it to the various service areas for their review. The other service requests in the other categories will no longer have an impact process. When you have completed the request and attached the form, it goes directly to the service area. So you're talking about a significant time improvement because we're not looking for all the service areas to look at it, review it sequentially. They will be getting it all at the same time, knowing that the request is coming in their queue. So now, we've explained the big picture of all the service types that we have. So now this is actually what you're going to be looking at when you log into Remedy. Not right now, not till you roll out, but this is what it's going to look like. So the first page will have a list of all of the services. You can see that we've listed all of the service types on that page. So this is what you're going to see when you log in. So I'm logged in, and I'm picking email. Well, email is the top level category, and then on the left side where the arrow is, that is the list of all of the service request definitions that are available for email. And this is just a fake example for this demonstration, but it's to show you what the system will look like. So if I pick infrastructure, on the left-hand side, there will be a list of all of the infrastructure. All 14 of the infrastructure service request definitions will be on that side. So I pick the one I want, I fill out the form. There you go. And then I hit request now, and that opens the request for you to complete. So, this is the next page that you will see. This is where we ask you a lot of the same information that we had in CSS. It was what's your billing code, who's submitting the request, is there a time frame related to that? So these are like the entry level questions. I highlighted approver because we're going to talk about approver on the next slide because this is a new process to CSS, from CSS. So this is a culture shift that you guys are going to need to be aware of. Okay. So the remedy system is designed to allow a maximum of only 3 approvers. So I know CSS let you pick 17 different approvers. You could pick how many approvers you wanted. Remedy is configured, it only allows 3. And the approvers can only be individuals. So you can't say, I want the remedy group or the infrastructure group or the software group. It has to be, I want Julie Jensen, Ellen Nishimoto, Rob Schmidt. You have to pick them individually. Now you can pick 1 and then say none for the other 2. But you have to complete all 3 approvers, whether it's, Julie Jensen, none, or Julie Jensen, Rob Schmidt, none, however you want to do it, but there has to be 3 entries in there, and they have to be people. But this is going to be this is actually going to be a lot of a culture change for you, because you have to figure out who needs to approve a request. And that's something that you need to start thinking as an organization right now, because this is a change to how the system currently works. Okay, so one of the benefits that we came from the system is that we actually created a customer report that will be downloadable. And as Rob stated, you can either download it for the service requests that you've submitted, or you can do it for all the service requests that have been submitted for your department. And we have a quick demo.
The Service Request Reports console provides users with the means to report and export selected service request data. You can select from a variety of search criteria and output methods to format reports to your own specifications. Access the Reports console by expanding the application's navigation bar on the left side of the screen, then scroll down to Service Request Management, then Request Entry. To access the Reports console, select the Print button located under the My Request section. The Service Request Reports console now appears. Here where it says Select Data For, you have 2 different options. The first one is My Requests, which you would use if you want to pull a report just on your own service request. The second is All Requests, if you want to pull a report on your entire department. Notice how the display on the right side of the screen changes as I toggle between these 2 options. Next we have the Show drop-down box, which currently has 6 different options to choose from. You would choose All if you want to pull the report on all requests except the ones that have a status of closed or in cart. Open and Draft Requests includes requests with all status values except completed, closed, and in cart. Requests Needing Attention includes all requests that are flagged as needing attention but are not in the status of in cart. Recently Closed Requests is all requests closed within the last 7 days that are not in cart. Requests Closed Since Last Login includes all requests that were closed since you last accessed the Request Entry module, excluding any with a status of in cart. And last but not least, we have Closed Requests, which includes all requests with a status of completed, rejected, canceled, or closed. In addition to those options, we have 2 different reports that you can pull from. One report you would use if you just want to display the report on screen or export it into a PDF. The second option you would use if you want to export the report into an Excel document. For this first example, I'm going to go ahead and choose the report for exporting into Excel, then click the Run button. This can take a minute depending on how much data the system needs to filter through. Once it's displayed, the report viewer now has all of the requests that the system has for me. You can browse through the pages directly using the arrows in the top right of the screen. You also have the option to print directly or to go ahead and export the report into that Excel document. Once it's in Excel, you can continue to manipulate the data as you see fit. To exit out of the report, you'll click on the X on the Report Viewer tab, and it will return you back to the Service Request Reports console. The other report option for web or PDF has the same data, but it will display a little bit differently than the Excel one will. You still have the same option to filter through the different pages using the arrows at the top of the screen. You also have the option to print the report or export the report as a PDF if you want to save it for later. In addition to pulling a report on yourself or your department, you also have the option to run a report on another person. If you want to do that, you go to the Settings tab and choose On Behalf Of, and go ahead and type the name of the person you're looking for in the search bar. Highlight that person's name, then click the Select button. It now displays my coworker's name up at the top of the screen, and if I go into the reporting console, you'll see her name displays here on the right side of the screen as well. Once you're done pulling a report on somebody else, you just want to make sure you go back to Settings and click on Back to Myself to return the system back to its normal state. That's it for running a report. I hope this helps.
All right, so many of you are probably interested to know when your department will become part of the Remedy solution. So we have scheduled a 5-wave deployment schedule. We expect our first wave to go out early March of this year. Our second wave we're anticipating will go late April. Our third wave is scheduled for early in June. Our fourth wave is scheduled for early in July. And our fifth wave is scheduled for early August. So you're probably wondering who's in wave 1. Well, we've contacted all of those customers and we asked them if they'd be willing to be part of our wave 1, and we have them listed here. We have the Department of Alcoholic and Beverage Control, Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, State Teachers Retirement System, Student Aid Commission, Department of Water Resources, the Delta Stewardship Council, Employment Training Panel, Fair Political Practices Commission, First 5 California Children and Family Commission, Prison Industries Authority, Office of Traffic Safety, the Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board, and then the California Workforce Development Board. So we reached out individually to each of these customers to make sure that they were willing to go first and be sort of our pioneers in the SURF effort. We also have had Department of State Hospitals who has been utilizing this system since last July, and they've provided us a lot of feedback. So if you're interested as to which wave your department is in, there is actually a handout when you leave that will state which wave you're in by department. If you have concerns with the wave and the current tentative assignment dates that we have for the wave, we're asking you to contact your account lead. The link is on the bottom if you don't know who your account lead is. But we recognize that there may be concerns with, I have fiscal year end, it may be tax time for us. So we recognize that there may be concerns. It is a draft schedule. It's not hard and fast. We're not, rigid with it. But we want you to review it and see if you can meet the waves. And if you can't meet the wave that you're in, we need you to look and identify an optional wave for you. So for the wave 1 teams that are rolling out, or departments that are rolling out, we have a couple of meetings that we have scheduled, and we'll be sending out notifications from marketing. We have a planning meeting. We have 2 planning meetings, both occurring on January 28th and on February the 4th, so there are a total of 4 planning meetings. They will occur at 10 o'clock or 1:30 on those days. And basically what we're looking at those meetings is we're wanting the customers that are in wave 1 to talk about their user IDs, who in CSS is getting a Remedy ID, who is going to be the approvers related to that prior slide about approvers. We're going to talk about the approval process, the issues your department may have with it, make some recommendations as to how approvers should work within your department because of the limitation of only 3 approvers. And then we're going to provide you a preview of the service request definition or the remedy system. So those 2 meetings you can attend. Marketing will be sending you an invitation. You can attend one of the meetings. You can attend all 4 of the meetings. It's at your discretion. But this is only for Wave 1 customers at this time. We are also providing classroom training for our Wave 1 customers. We have 2 dates, February 23rd or March 10th. We also have the same times. We're meeting at 10 a.m. and at 1:30 p.m. And at those training meetings, we're actually providing you an overview of the production system at that time. And we will be doing actual classroom training for all of the pre-CSS or post-CSS pre-remedy trainings. So this will actually be for everybody who will be using the system and in creating service request definitions for your department. And yet again, as in the planning meeting, you can attend 1 meeting, you can attend all 4. As we talked about, just briefly about training, how we're approaching training for the customers is we have hands-on classroom training. We have the 4 different sessions for each wave where we actually let you delve into the system. But after the hands-on classroom training, we are offering computer-based training modules, like the one on reports that you just saw. So we've taken the system, we've broken it down into 3 to 5 minute modules, and we're having these snippets of training available on our website for you to get a refresher. So if you forget how to log on or you can't remember how to submit that firewall request, you can actually go to the CBTs and have a quick 3 to 5 minute refresher class. Okay, I know this is the big pink elephant in the room, so what are we doing with CSS? Well, we're not cutting it off yet. It's going to stay. So if you have a service request, if your department has a service request that's sitting in CSS right now and your department is moved into Remedy, those requests will stay in CSS. So you are going to be operating on 2 systems while all the CSS requests are fulfilled. So until they're done, they're going to sit in CSS. We're not moving them over. We are looking at a data retention policy for the CSS information because we are aware that many customers have legal issues or security issues, and they need to have the data retained in CSS. We are looking at how we are going to manage that, but we do not have an answer for that at this time. So the next steps. So we're looking at, as a project, we're rolling out to our Wave 1 customers. We're having our customer meetings, our customer training. We're refining the service request definitions that we will be implementing for the Wave 1 customers. Realize that though we have 33 that we're planning to have service request definitions that'll go out with the Wave 1, we are still meeting with all of our service areas. We're still reviewing the processes. So if you're Wave 2, you may have 38 SRDs that will be available for you. So it's a continual improvement process. We are not stopping, so we have a whole team of people that are still developing all of our service requests that will be part of the Remedy system. Our goal is to completely eliminate other. We don't want other around because other is just like CSS. We don't have the metrics related to it. We don't have the easy search capability. We don't have the ability to see how long a service really takes. And it also gets rid of the impact process, which I know nobody likes. So for the other customers that are not Wave 1, the things that you need to be preparing are the approval process. So the only 3 approvers needs to be discussed internally within your organization. We need to identify your approving processes, how you want to handle that, come up with options. You need to identify who are going to be your Remedy service request submitters. Who are those people? Are they the same people that you have in CSS, or are you having new people? So you need to identify who those people are because they need to attend training. And then you need to prepare for the migration. You need to look at what service requests you have. Are there, do we need to refine how many people we have in the system that are submitting requests? But you need to look at how you currently process your requests, knowing that the system is going to change, and just prepare for it. So that's it. I think you've heard me talk enough. So this is kind of your time. So we have questions. We have question and answer period. The question was, is any of the data self-loading, or do you have to put it in each time? So the personal data is self-loading. So so if John Smith and your phone number will preload, but beyond that, a lot of it's drop down now. We're trying to eliminate the freeform text, so there's very little narrative entering that needs to be done. The question was, are approvers pre-filled? And actually approvers are drop down boxes. So you'll say that, John Smith and Amy Jones are the only two people and somebody else are the only three people that your department can approve. They will be in a drop down. So you select your approvers for your department. So you don't have to type Amy's name in and worry about misspelling it. So the question was, it's the copy feature in CSS. So if I had a firewall request and I didn't want to actually complete it, I wanted the ability to copy it and then make just changes to that. Will that, for the new one, will that functionality exist? The response was, it should be implemented. So you have the ability to save your requests as a favorite now, and then you can use that to create a new. So you're not having to refill the same data or very similar data over and over again. So the question was, will the users have the same credentials in Remedy as they do in CSS? And the answer is not really. So when you go through WAVE training is when we ask you who your departmental submitters and approvers will be, and there's actually a form that we're going to request that you fill out. The question was, for approvers, is there a maximum of 3, or is it 3 for every area? And it's actually, a department can have as many approvers as they want designated. So you can have 50 people designated as an approver, but you can only select 3 approvers per request. So the question was, if the request requires ISO approval, will that use up one of the approvers? And the answer is yes. So the question was, is the form or service request going to force ISO approval on certain requests? And the answer is yes, and especially on the firewall request. That one has been designed where it actually comes over to Department of Technology's ISO before it goes to your ISO. So we validate that what is being requested is doable and acceptable before your ISO approves it. So the question is, how do you contact the service desk? Right now they are contactable via email or telephone call. So the answer is, if you're reporting an incident, there is a service request definition related to an incident, but if you are truly having an incident, I would recommend you call. My recommendation always for calling the service desk, contacting the service desk, is if it's critical, use the phone. Email is a 24-hour response. So this would not be my recommended way to contact the service desk. If you've called the service desk, it always helps if you send an email follow-up to the service desk with additional information, and then reference, of course, the incident number that they gave you, or the work order number, the request number that they provided you. So the comment was, I stated previously that CSS was going away. If you are entering any new requests, they need to be submitted in Remedy, not in CSS. If you are like a Wave 1 customer and you submit a request in CSS, our CSS staff will actually be contacting you and walking you through the process of submitting that request in Remedy. So that request will not stay in CSS, but any existing CSS request will go through the fruition, will be finalized, go through fruition, be served, however you want to put it. So until it's done. Nothing new, all old. So the request is, will the system automatically route the request to each approver? And the answer is yes. So the question was, so will it bypass the ISO and go to Department of Technology? And the answer to that is only if it is a firewall, which is the only request that comes to our ISO before it goes to your ISO. So the question is there a way to restrict who can submit specific types of service requests, or can we ensure that only network service requests come from network? So the answer is we have that capability. I just want to thank you all for coming out on this rainy day, and have a wonderful day.